Hello everyone and welcome back again sa ating paboritong channel. Yan, kamusta po kayong lahat? Ayan, sana nasa mabuti kayong lahat ng kalagayan. And thank you for coming back to our channel to watch our video. So, this video is still part of our RPMS Serie 2023. And for this video, nakita niyo na sa ating title, tayo ay magdi-discuss na this time ng ating objective number 3. But before that, katulad ng nakagawian natin, we start our video with our pa-shoutout. So, I would like to start sa comment po ni Ma'am Myra Manogid. Good morning po, Ma'am Idol. Super klaro po talaga ang explanation mo po sa mga RPMS serye. Malaking tulong po talaga and I will share this sa anak ko at pamangkin ko. Nakasama ko din po dito po sa school namin. Pa-shoutout naman po sa canteen managers po ng Bugao National High School ng STO Catanduanes po. Maraming salamat po. Okay. So, shoutout po. Hello po sa inyong lahat. Sa lahat ng canteen managers, madami yata to. Sa lahat ng canteen managers po ng Bugao National High School from SDO Catanduanes. Hello po sa inyong lahat. Sana nanonood kayo and sana lagi kayo nasa mabuting kalagayan. Another one we have from Jose Brazil Vencito. Thanks po sa video, ma'am, from San Miguel, Leyte. Wow, ang layo. Hello po sa lahat ng mga teachers from San Miguel, Leyte. Sabi niya pa, thanks sa video for first objective. More blessings. Dami ko pong nalalaman. Naku, maraming salamat po kung ganon. And then, we also have from Zen Villanueva. Wow, ganda. Bagay sa'yo. Ayan na nga ang ating mga comment tungkol sa ating pakulot. Another from Ma'am Myra Manogid, super bagay po sa iyo, Ma'am Idol, ang kulot. Ayan na nga, ayan, kaya nga tuloy, nagkulot na naman tayo eh. Kasi ang dami nyo nag-comment eh. Eh, syempre, si Teacher Racky, uto-uto yan. Funny kaya ako, funny walain. Next one, from Kit Ganda Lopez. Wow. Thanks po, Teacher Idol. Ask ko lang po, may isat na po ba? Ang isat po, ulitin ko, ay manggagaling sa ating school ICT coordinator. Hindi po to na ilalabas publicly kasi meron po itong mga PIN code and security link na only for a specific school. Ano po? Next one from Lerma Soriano. Bagay mo po, Teacher Racky, ang pakulot hair mo. Bumata ang looks mo. Wow naman, nakaka-encourage naman yon. Ayan tuloy, magpapakulot na lagi si Teacher Racky. From Grace Irene Ribuyas, ayi, objective 2 na. Ayi, objective 3 na to. Next one, from Christina Torla. Good morning, Teacher Racky. Ang ganda ng hair mo. Hair lang. Sige na nga, okay na yon. From Ma'am Grace Irene Ribuyas, bagay sa'yo, Ma'am, kulot na hair. Thank you. Wow, pa-cute. 10 from Jose Brazil Vencito. Maganda buhok mo, ma'am. Perfect. Ayan. Ayan na nga. At dahil funny walain si Teacher Racky, ayan, nagpakulot na naman tuloy tayo. So, welcome to our another kulot episode and we're on to objective number 3 of the RPMS tool for Proficient Teachers for school year 2022 to 2023. First of all, hindi na to first. Second na to, kasi ang first natin ay pa-shoutout. So, pangalawa po, I would like to make an important announcement. So, I would like to remind again everyone that there are different available templates po for free. Pinapamigay po ni Teacher Racky for free. At ang ating steps on how to avail these free templates is for you to subscribe to this channel. And then, take a screenshot of your subscription. Send it through messages sa ating Facebook page. Ayan yung ating Facebook page, ha. I-send nyo lang po dyan through direct message. And then, you can ask for your request. Ulitin ko lang, ano ang mga pwede nyo i-request. Marami tayong available template. We have the different RPMS portfolio. Meron tayong 4 na RPMS portfolio para sa Proficient Teachers and another 4 available RPMS portfolio for highly proficient teachers. Aside from that, we are also giving away IPCRF materials. Ano yung mga IPCRF materials natin? These are both for proficient and highly proficient teachers, ha? Parehong meron tayo niyan. We have the COT rating sheet. we have the COT Inter-Observer Agreement form, and they are all downloadable and ready to print. We also have the mid-year review form, and of course, our IPCRF rating sheet. So, lahat yan for both proficient teachers and highly proficient. May I remind uli lang po that these materials are not from the Department of Education. Wala pa po kasing binababa si DepEd na mga ganitong materials. So I decided to create my own. Ginawa ko po to. At pinagbasihan ko yung ating template, yung ating design and layout from the previous IPCRF materials, and then in-incorporate ko yung guidelines natin, the mid-year guidelines for RPMS. Okay? Kaya ito po ay sarili kong gawa. Now, pag nagbaba po si DepEd ng official IPCRF materials, ita-transfer na lang natin. So, madali na. Makakapag-umpisa na tayo. Ay, may I add also na meron din tayong IPCRF Development Plan template. Now, the announcement is, by next week po, that's Friday next week, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 20, 24. Hanggang sa March 24, na lang po ako makakapagbigay ng free template. Ano po? Kasi po, meron pong importanteng gagawin si Teacher Racky, which will not allow me to carry on the laptop. For some reason, sa laptop lang po ako nakakapag-send ng template. Di po ako makapag-send through my phone. Kaya, hindi ko po madadala ang laptop, kaya hindi po ako makakapagbigay ng template after March 24 for a month. Kaya po, lahat po ng interesado at gusto pang maka-avail ng mga free template na to, I encourage you to request for these templates now na. Okay? Para maka-avail pa po kayo at makapag-send pa ako sa inyo ng mga free template na to. And let me encourage also everybody to please tell all your friends and other co-teachers about our free template para maka-avail na rin po sila at hindi sila mahuli. Marami nang pangyayari ng mga nahuhuli, lagi na lang nasa huli ang pagsisisi, di ba? So, huwag na natin pagsisihan yan. So, ngayon pa lang, ina-encourage ko na, inuunahan ko na kayo, that the templates will be available until March 24 only. So, mag-avail na po kayo, because these are all for free. Now, speaking of free, since this is free, wala po akong chinacharge sa inyo dito, miski piso, you can only ask for yourself. Huwag naman po tayo mag-ask ng para sa buong eskwelahan nyo. Ano po? Let them, instead of asking templates for others, why don't we share with them our YouTube channel? Pakishare na lang po natin ang ating YouTube channel sa kanila and let them watch the video and follow the instructions on how to avail. Katulad po ng ginagawa nyo. Ano po? So, nakatulong na kayo sa kanila, nakatulong pa kayo sa akin, di ba? Ang saya-saya, nagtulungan na tayong lahat. Ayan. So, again, hanggang March 24 na lang po ang ating pag-avail ng free templates na ito. Okay? So, mag-avail na po kayo habang available pa si Teacher Racky for that. After a month, magbibigay po tayo uli. Meron lang importanteng gagawin si Teacher Racky. But, our videos ay tuloy-tuloy lang po. Okay? Continuous lang po ang ating video kasi bago yon magagawa na ako araw-araw ng mga video para matapos natin yung 15 objectives for proficient teachers. Kasi magagawa pa tayo ng 15 objectives para sa highly proficient teachers. Ayan, kayod pa, Teacher Racky. Okay, para sa ating lahat yan. Okay? So, we are now ready to proceed to our topic for this video, objective number 3. For our objective 3, applied a range of teaching strategies to develop critical and creative thinking as well as higher order thinking skills. So for this objective, this is another classroom observable indicator which means that this should be manifested during our classroom observation for the third and fourth quarter, kung saan dapat daw maipakita natin na tayo ay nakagamit or gumamit ng iba't ibang teaching strategies para ma-develop ang critical and creative thinking, pati na rin ang higher order thinking skills ng ating mga mag-aaral. So let's go to the RPMS tool for this objective. So this is another objective under KRA1, Content, Knowledge, and Pedagogy. So our objective is apply the range of teaching strategies to develop critical and creative thinking as well as other higher thinking skills. Kung saan ang means of verification natin is another classroom observation tool, or COT rating sheets or inter-observer agreement form, depende po kung ilan ang nag-observe sa atin. Ulitin lang natin ang guidelines for classroom observation. For this school year, we are only required of 2 classroom observations, which shall be conducted in the last 2 quarters, that is the third and fourth quarter. So according to the schedule and distribution of classroom observable indicators across quarters for proficient teachers, we are on to objective 3, and that is the classroom observable indicator number 3. So this will be rated on the both on the third and fourth quarter classroom observation. So just the same, katulad ng ating objective 1 and 2, we need 2 classroom observation tool, rating sheet, or inter-observer agreement form. So this is an example of our rating sheet for proficient teachers, and we're on to the classroom observable indicator number 3, which is applied a range of teaching strategies to develop critical and creative thinking as well as higher order thinking skills. So dapat makita ni observer na nagawa natin itong indicator na to, na naipakita natin yung teaching strategies, yung iba't ibang teaching strategies na nag-develops ng critical and creative thinking as well as higher order thinking skills sa ating mga mag-aaral, dahil ang ating aim, ang ating goal is always to get the highest possible score, which is level 7. Okay? Now, ang tanong, paano ba natin makukuha ulit ang highest possible score for this objective? So, balikan natin uli ang objective number 3, which is applied a range of teaching strategies to develop critical and creative thinking as well as other higher order thinking skills. Katulad ng mga nakaraan, tayo po ay mag-guide kung paano ito ay sasagawa sa pamamagitan ng PPST 1.5.2. So, under the notes, the PPST Resource Package Module 3 offers illustrative and instructive information that can help PRATEs achieve this objective, and that is PPST Indicator 1.5.2. So, dun tayo magpo-focus para mas maintindihan natin at malaman natin kung paano ba natin ma-achieve ang objective na to. So this is the module for PPST Resource Package Module 3, and that is apply a range of teaching strategies to develop critical and creative thinking as well as higher order thinking skills. So ito po ang ating magiging basis sa pag-achieve ng objective na ito. So tingnan natin. We have here an illustration of a classroom setting. Basahin natin ang sinabi ni Ma'am. I expect you all to be independent, innovative, critical thinkers who will do exactly what I say. Ayan, ang sabi ni Ma'am. So, how do you think that the teacher in the illustration, how is the teacher in the illustration? Is she really facilitating critical thinking among her students? As proficient teachers, we come to class every day with the hope that we will make learning for every learner meaningful. Equipped with sufficient knowledge and skills, we embrace a world of diverse learners. One of the challenges we face is how to engage them into classroom activities that foster critical, creative, and higher order thinking skills, which is true naman. It is really a challenge for every teachers on how we will be able to engage our learners to foster critical, creative, and higher order thinking skills, considering that we have diverse learners. More than making our learners remember what we teach, we also want them to use the knowledge they learn to analyze problems, evaluate options, and create solutions. This can only be possible when learners are provided with classroom environments that develop and nurture their thinking skills. So let us start with the key concepts of this objective. Teaching strategies. Kailangan daw makapag-apply tayo ng a range of teaching strategies. So, teaching strategies refer to the structure, system, methods, techniques, procedures, and processes that a teacher uses during instruction. These are strategies that teacher employs to assist student learning. Okay? So, lahat ng pamamaraan na ginagamit natin sa pagtuturo, yan yung mga teaching strategies. Another one, creative thinking skills. What is a creative thinking skills? These are thinking skills that involve exploring ideas, generating possibilities, and looking for many right answers rather than just one. Okay? So that is encouraging our student to generate possibilities and look for many answers rather than just one in your creative thinking skills. Another one is a critical thinking skills. These are high-level thinking skills such as analysis, evaluation, interpretation, or synthesis of information and application of creative thought to form an argument, solve a problem, or reach a conclusion. Okay, so this is a high-level thinking skills. Now, letting our students think critically. Next one is a higher order thinking skills. These are complex thinking processes which include analysis, evaluation, synthesis, reflection, and creativity. So, ito yung mga important concept on our objective number 3. So, this is an illustration of practice. So there are two grade 5 science teachers teach the same competency in science, that is SF5 MTLC-T-2. Investigate changes that happen in materials under the following conditions. 2.2 application of heat. So ito yung competency. Dalawang grade 5 students, teachers who are both teaching the same competency. So teacher A delivers a lecture on the changes that happen to certain materials under the application of heat. In her discussion, she asks her learners questions such as, what happens to paper when it is burned? To evaluate their learning, she provides them with a worksheet that contains questions about the topic. On the other hand, teacher B, at the beginning of the lesson, asks, what will our lives be without heat? Then she poses the question, what will happen to the different materials when they are subjected to heat? She then elicits answers from the class and writes them on the board. After, she guides the learners to conduct experiments on the effect of heat on various materials. She then allows them to present and explain their findings. As an enrichment activity, she asks them to think of a new device that produces. The teacher's application of instructional strategy is crucial in the development of critical, creative, and higher order thinking skills. And this is likewise very important, our application of instructional strategy. In the presented sample teacher practice, both teachers work on similar content but deliver it differently. Teacher A's traditional lecture method centers on the role of teachers as transmitters and sources of knowledge. Consequently, learners are viewed as passive receivers of information. So kung napansin natin, si Teacher A, dineliver niya lang yung buong lesson content and then she asked a question to the learners. So, ibig sabihin, she portrayed that role of teachers as a transmitter and sources of knowledge. Kung saan, kinonsider niya ang mga learners are passive receivers of information. Tanggap lang ng tanggap. Teacher is transmitted, teacher is a source of knowledge, and then the learners are the receiver. On the other hand, Teacher B demonstrates guided inquiry in instruction. She engages the learners through problem-based activities. She encourages them to experiment, to test their hypotheses, and to communicate their findings. As post-teaching activities, she asks them to create as an extension and application of what the learners learn in the class. These strategies stimulate them to infer, make decisions, formulate ideas, and solve complex problems. We need to remember that our instruction should apply a range of strategies to develop creative, critical, and higher-order thinking skills. Our learners are thinking and creative individuals. Our role then is to unleash the creativity in each of our learners. So we cannot just simply transmit information to our learners. We should be able to make them work, make them think, make them create the conclusion. Diba? We have to make our students be creative and analytical. So, these are different illustration of practice na pwede nating pagbasihan kung paano natin maipapakita ang objective na ito during our classroom observation. So, let's have illustration of practice number 1, development through problem-based strategies. So, let us read the following practices. Mila, an elementary science teacher, facilitates a teaching process that will enable her learners to describe the effects of a typhoon on the community. That is SF5EIVE-5, and that's a competency. To allow her learners to demonstrate profound understanding of this competency, she engages her class to work on a problem-based task as presented below. So this is the application. Your community is prone to destructive typhoons. In groups of 5, think of a possible structure of a typhoon-proof house. Then explain the reasons behind its structure. So that was the application during her class. Number 2, Marites, an elementary Araling Panlipunan teacher, enables her learners to patronize locally made products. That's under AP6 TDK-4GH-7 na iuugnay ang kahalagahan ng pagtangkilik sa sariling produkto sa pag-unlad at pagsulong ng bansa. To facilitate understanding of the topic, she employs a group activity, pangkatang gawain. Bilang mga empleyado ng isang advertising company, naatasan kayong i-promote ang local na produkto ng inyong bayan. Gumawa ng isang ad campaign para rito. So it can be noted that problem-based learning or PBL can be employed in all learning areas and all levels. So kung napansin nyo, yung ating unang illustration, the teacher is actually teaching science. And then yung pangalawa, she's teaching Araling Panlipunan. So, ibig sabihin, pwede mo naman i-employ yung problem-based learning to any learning areas and any level. As you noted with the cited illustrative practices, PBL as a teaching method uses complex real-world problems to promote student learning of concepts and principles. So, gagamit tayo ng mga real-world. Aside from the understanding of content, it promotes critical thinking skills, problem-solving, and communication skills. Likewise, it can provide opportunities for working in groups, finding and evaluating materials, and lifelong learning. That's from Dutch, Crow, and Allen of 2001. Paano natin to gagawin? Okay? Problem-based learning can be implemented by considering these steps from Dutch, Crow, and Allen 2001. Number 1, choose a learning goal for the learners to attain at the end of instruction. That is according to our objective, diba? Lagi tayo naka-align sa ating objective. Number 2, think of a real-world context for the understanding of the content. Build realistic applications of the concept being taught. So pagkatapos nating ma-identify ang ating objective, let us think of a real-world context, yung nangyayari sa totoong buhay. And let us build realistic applications of this concept. Number 3, identify the teaching context where the problem may be introduced. In doing such, be guided by these questions. A. What open-ended question can be asked? Ano pwede natin itanong na open-ended? It should not be a yes or no question. Letter B. What learning issues will be identified? Letter C. How will the problem be structured? Letter D. What resources will the students need? And letter E. What end product will the students produce at the completion of the problem? And then number 4, evaluate the learner's performance using appropriate tool or tools and provide feedback. Make and deliver activities or exercises aligned with the lesson objectives. Okay? So, sa ating PBL or problem-based learning, magbibigay tayo ng problem sa ating mga students which is from a real-world context. Yung nakikita nila, yung nararamdaman nila. So we'll give them this problem and we'll ask them to come out with a solution. But we have to remember that we should always be aligned with the lesson objective. So that's how we do PBL. Next one, illustration of practice number 2, development through effective questioning strategies. So Teacher Joe reads a story to his grade 4 learners. After reading the story, he asks among his learners questions about it. Let's take note of his effective questioning strategies by focusing on the set of questions he prepared for the class. So, this first set of questions, A, B, C, and D, as you know, these questions require the learners to recall information from the text with. Aalalahanin lang nila kung ano yung mga napakinggan nila. These call for low-order thinking skills like remembering. These questions answered by single responses are called convergent questions, okay? Ito daw yung mga question for low-order thinking skills which are called convergent questions because it can only be answered by single responses. Isa lang ang sagot. Kung ano yung nandun sa kwento. While, on the other hand, these questions, the second set of questions, require learners to answer by analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating. These are divergent, open-ended questions and may have multiple answers. Okay? So, yun yung pagkakaiba ng dalawang set of questions. The first questions are call for low-order thinking skills. Isa lang ang sagot, kung ano yung nando sa kwento. Samantalang sa pangalawang set of questions, this requires learners to answer by analyzing. You let the students analyze, synthesize, and evaluate for them to get the answers. From the practice, effective questioning can be used as an important classroom tool to develop critical, creative, and higher-order thinking skills. It is also important that teachers like you have deep understanding of the learning objectives as constructed. According to McComas and Rocher, 2005, if you want your student to recall and remember certain knowledge, ask them low-level convergent questions. Okay? Kung gusto mo lang mag-recall ang mga estudyante mo at maalala kung ano yung pinag-usapan, then you can ask them low-level convergent questions. However, if you want to see if students understand and are able to transfer knowledge, ask them divergent questions. Similarly, they indicated that low-level divergent questions should be asked to see if students can make inferences. Find the causes and effects of an issue. And divergent question siya because it allows your student to make inferences, find the cause and effect of an issue, and make generalizations, pero low-level. On the other hand, to make them speculate, make evaluations, and think creatively. They should be asked high-level divergent questions. Okay? So the low-level convergent questions, ito yung one response lang. There's only one response. Kung ano lang yung narinig nila. While the divergent questions would allow your student to think. But yung divergent questions, they are considered low-level and high-level as well. So as teachers, we should have a profound understanding of how learning goals are structured so we can formulate questions appropriate to the levels of thinking we want to develop among our learners. So to develop critical thinking among your learners, your questioning should encourage them to analyze, evaluate, and create with sample tasks as presented in the table. So this table is adapted from Anderson and Krathwohl of 2001, pages 67 to 68, cited in this said link. So, from lower order thinking skills questioning to higher order thinking skills. So, mag-start sa lower order thinking skills, we just ask them to remember. That is recognizing and recalling. And then, to level up, we would require them to understand. Paano natin sila i-require to understand? They should be able to interpret, exemplify, summarize, infer, and compare. And then proceeding, we wanted them to apply. So this is where executing and implementing takes place. And then to go further up, we require our students to analyze. Through analyzing, they will do differentiating, organizing, and attributing. And then to level up some more, we require them to evaluate. That is checking and critiquing. And then the most highest among this questioning is when we require them to create. That is generating, planning, and producing. Okay? So these are we can base our questioning into this table. So alin dito, saan tayo dito magko-question? Which part of this table do we usually do questioning? Do we just do questioning under the lower order thinking skills, or do we deliver higher order thinking skills to our students? Now, how do we do this? How do we encourage them to do a higher order thinking skills? So these are the different questioning. How to ask, what to do with students' responses, and what to do when learners don't respond. Let us take number 1. Decide on your goal for asking the questions. Okay? So what is your objective? Why do we have to ask this question? Then what do we do with students' responses? Reinforcement. You should reinforce students' responses and questions in a positive way. And in order to encourage future participation. So we reinforce. We take note of their responses para sa susunod, may encourage pa rin sila magsalita. That every answers are accepted. Then, what to do when learners don't respond? Siyempre, meron pa rin tayong mga learners that they don't usually respond. Redirect. When your student responds to a question, you can ask another student to comment on his statement. One purpose of using this is to enable more learners to participate. Okay? So, pag sumagot si learner, you can ask another learner to comment on that other learner's statement. So we are encouraging everyone to participate during by this way. Next one is ask questions that require an extended response or at least a content answer. Avoid yes or no questions. Refrain also from asking implied response questions. For example, don't we all need to follow traffic rules? Okay, so these are the different types of questions that we need to give to our student. We have to make sure that we don't use a yes-no questions. Laging open-ended ang dapat na mga tanong natin. So we can let our students think more. After asking these questions, what do we do with student responses? We do proving. As a questioning strategy, these encourage learners to explore initial comments. So we want them to prove their answers. Proofs are useful in getting students more involved in critical analysis of their own and other students' ideas. So we can ask them to prove their statements, or we can ask another learner if they agree or disagree with the answer and let them prove. So that is proving. Now what do we do when learners don't respond? Rephrasing. When your student provides an incorrect response or no response at all, we may reword the question to make it clearer. Baka hindi masyado naintindihan ng mga estudyante yung tanong. So, pwede nating i-reward. Letter B, provide additional information for the learner. So, baka hindi pa nila na-gets mismo yung idea. Let us give more information para mas maintindihan nila. Or, break the question into manageable parts. Okay? Baka masyadong complicated yung tanong natin. Let us break it into different parts para mas maintindihan ng mga estudyante. Another one, phrase your question so that the task is clear to students. We have to make sure that the questions will be very clear to our students para makakuha tayo ng responses. So what do we do with students' responses? Adjust or refocus. When a student provides a response that appears out of context, medyo lumayo sa topic yung sagot ni students, we can refocus to encourage the learner to tie his or her response to the content being discussed. Tayo na yung mag-guide. I-guide natin sila, yung answer nila, let us guide their answers towards the topic, towards the main content of the question. Let us guide them so they can connect. Now, what do we do when learners don't respond? Using wait time. Employ wait time between asking a question and doing something else. Calling on a student or rewarding the question. Give the learners 1 to 3 seconds for them to comprehend the questions. Let us use the wait time. Let us not how do we say that? We have to wait for the learners to digest the question. We cannot force them to answer instantly. Bigyan natin sila ng pagkakataong pag-isipan yung question so that they can come up into different answers. Now let us go to illustration of practice number 3, development through visualization. Maui teaches grade 7 English. In order to develop the creative and critical thinking skills of his learners, he uses visualization strategy in his lesson on the centipede by Ronnie V. Diaz. Let us take a look at the procedures employed in his class. Teacher Maui, I will read an excerpt from the story The Centipede by Ronnie V. Diaz. As I read to you, I will visualize the text in my mind. Beyond the apple grove, in a grass field, we spotted a covey of brown pigeons. In the open, they kept springing to the air and gliding away every time we were within range. But finally, they dropped to the ground inside a wedge of guava trees. My father pressed my shoulder and I stopped. Then slowly, in a half crouch, we advanced. The breeze rose lightly. The grass cast against my bare legs. My father stopped again. He knelt down and held my hand. Teacher Maui takes 5 minutes to sketch what's on his mind. After that, he shows to the class his sketch. Now, I will read a passage for you to visualize. Close your eyes and create an image based on the text read. Accomplish the sketch to stretch template based on your interpretation of the excerpt. Do not worry about your sketches. So development through visualization is using the sketch to stretch strategy. So we would ask the students to visualize about the topic, whatever that we wanted to tell them. So let them visualize and let them sketch their visualization, and let us remind them not to worry about whether or not they can sketch really good. What matters is how they were able to visualize the concept. Now, how do we do it? So how do you teach students to use visualization? Here are some points to consider when using visualization strategy according to Miller of 2004. Number one, teachers should directly model the thought processes involved in visualizing. They should read familiar text and describe the image they see in their mind. So we should model the thought of processing, the visualizing. Dapat tayo muna. We model. Ganito ang gagawin. This is how I visualize to encourage our learners to visualize as well. Number two, read a passage for students to visualize. Choose something that is descriptive so they can easily create vivid images in their mind. Explain to students that when they visualize, it is important to use their background knowledge and words in the text to help them imagine a picture in their mind. It is important students understand that there is not one correct answer. For younger students, start with an object and describe it by color, size, shape, and smell. Ask students to close their eyes and create an image. Number three, students should share their images with a partner. They can use the think, pair, share technique. After forming an image, they should pair up with a partner and share what they have visualized. Allow students to choose their own subjects to describe to each other. Then number four, teachers should use a different selection from the same text and ask students to illustrate while they listen to the teacher read the passage. Students should share and discuss their images. And then lastly, number five, students should practice the strategy frequently. They should use visualization during read alouds and silent reading. Teachers should incorporate both drawings and mental imagery to meet the needs of all students. So let us try to let our students practice this visualization strategy frequently para mas ma-develop yung kanilang imagination. Another illustration of practice, this is number 4, is the development through plus-minus interesting strategy or the PMI strategy. So Teacher Mandy prepares her learners to facilitate discussion in their carpentry class. Their class is working on the following competency. Formulate safety nets to control hazards and risks in the workplace. The CLE IAC P7/8ID-OI2. Take note of the activity using the PMI tool in Teacher Mandy's class. Okay? So this is the template of the activity. PMI your thoughts. So the question, you are working on a project of restoring an ancestral house in the locality. You notice that there are hazards and risks in your workplace. What are the positive, negative, and interesting points you can derive from the situation? Okay? So out of the situation, you give your students a situation and let them think of the positive and negative points of the situation. And then, aside from thinking the positive and negative, let us think to get the interesting point out of the situation. What interests them out of the situation? So that's how we do PMI. So Teacher Mandy exposes the learners to PMI, plus-minus interesting strategy. It is a brainstorming, decision-making, and critical thinking tool. It is used to encourage the examination of ideas, concepts, and experiences from more than one perspective. PMI was developed by Dr. Edward De Bono, a proponent of lateral and critical thinking. So this is simply represented by this 3-column chart. We have the plus, minus, and interesting. So the plus column will be for the positive point. The M column will be for the negative point, and the I column is the interesting point out of a situation. Now, how do we do it? Step 1, consider the plus points. In this step, simply enumerate all of the positive things you can think of. Don't critique yourself along the way. Simply spill out all the positive points that you can think of. Step 2, consider the minus points. In this step, enumerate all of the negative things you can think of. Again, don't critique yourself. Simply spill out all the negative points you can think of. And then step 3, consider the interesting points of the situation. In this step, enumerate all the interesting points that you can think of. Rather than positive or negative, they are simply points of interest that you should direct your attention to. And then step 4, make your conclusion. In this step, you make your judgment because you've scanned and organized 3 important aspects: the positives, the negatives, and the interesting. Now, illustration of practice number 5, development through role, audience, format, and topic, or the RAFT strategy. The learners in Teacher Racky's class learn about the relationship between the visible constellations in the sky and the Earth's position along its orbit in grade 9 science class. After the discussion of all the topics, Teacher Racky prepares a culminating activity for her learners through role, audience, format, and topic. That's RAFT. Take time to ponder on the RAFT activity. So this is the RAFT activity. So we have here the name of the student, the date, the grade and section, and then the directions. You choose one row. You let the students choose one of the 4 rows. So these rows would include role, audience, format, and topic. So if they pick to be the supergiant star, that will be their role, they have to think that their audience are younger stars. And then they have to do a dialogue. So the topic will be a look back on my life. So they're going to create a dialogue wherein the supergiant star will be talking about a look back on his life. Another row is when the student choose to be the moon. That's a role. And think that his or her audience are astronauts. The format will be advice column. So it would be a scenario wherein the moon would advise the astronauts. So the topic will be what to expect when you visit. Okay, so the moon will actually be explaining to the astronauts what they have to expect when they visit. Another role is constellation. So if their role is constellation, their audience is the Earth. So the format will be letter of concern. So the constellation will be creating a letter of concern addressed to the Earth. And the topic will be we are growing apart. And then last one, the role of a planet. So the audience will be protoplanets. So this time, the format will be a motivational speaker. The planet would act like a motivational speaker, wherein the topic is you too can be a strong, independent planet. So that's the RAFT strategy. You give them a role, you give them the audience that they will be talking with, and then what they would do, what format do they have to do, and then give them the topic. So that's the RAFT. It can be noted that Teacher Racky does not only focus on the content subject area, but also develops the critical and creative thinking skills of the learners through the use of RAFT strategy. According to Powell of 2009, RAFT are a writer and they can communicate their ideas effectively. It also helps the learners focus on their writing task and discover ideas from writing. By using this strategy, the teacher can encourage the learners to write creatively and effectively. So there are other illustrations of practice that we can make use of during our classroom observation. So this one, the teacher challenges learners cognitively to advance high-level thinking and discourse. So under the critical thinking, the teacher can ask directive and purposeful questions to exercise learners' problem-solving and decision-making skills. The teacher can also encourage learners to ask questions not just to provide answers, but to nurture their problem-solving skills. The teacher allows time for learners to ponder on questions, issues, or problems. The teacher gives learners a variety of experiences that prompt learners to formulate, infer, make decisions, consider possibilities, make judgments, and solve complex problems. For example, writing effective journals to state their stand, to reason out, and to present both sides of an issue or argument. Participating in peer group activities, reflecting on what they know, and categorizing things in many possible ways. Under creative thinking, the teacher employs divergent thinking strategies, which encourages learners to think out of the box by asking them to define a problem, provide solutions, and explain implications of the solution. Learners think of many different and unusual ideas and points of view, then adds details to improve those ideas. Another one, the teacher uses instruction that is designed to aid learners in finding meaning in an academic material and keep it by connecting it to their daily lives. For example, providing opportunities for open-ended questions and questions with multiple responses, or finding relationships between two seemingly unrelated ideas. Another one, the teacher uses visualization strategies where learners are tasked to create mental images of something that cannot be seen or does not exist. The teacher employs creative dramatics where learners explore ideas through physical activities, for example, pantomime, mirrors, or debriefing. The teacher uses analogy where learners compare similar objects or abstract processes or write about something in another perspective. Under the other higher order thinking skill, the teacher gives learners opportunities to assess their own work based on the learning goals and make necessary adjustments. The teacher also teaches learners how to think aloud through modeling. The teacher engages learners to think aloud about engaging themselves on a problem. Pupils are paired where one is a problem solver and the other is a listener. The pair shares experience with the group. So that is thinking aloud through collaborative inquiry. Another illustration of practice, learners extend the discussion by inviting comments from their classmates and challenging one another's thinking. So pwede natin gawin yun. We allow the learner to extend the discussion by inviting the comments from their classmates. And then they can challenge one another's thinking. So under the critical thinking, the teacher creates an environment where teacher and learners can freely communicate with each other, express ideas, and exchange views that others may not necessarily agree with. The creative thinking under this illustration is that the teacher asks learners to offer multiple varied solutions to complex problems through brainstorming. And then for the other higher order thinking skills, the teacher adopts activities that allow learners to monitor their learning. For example, learning logs, wrap-up, reflective narratives. Another illustration of practice, learners themselves ensure that all voices are heard in the discussion. So, paano to? Under the critical thinking, the teacher ensures that questions are within the learner's level of ability or within the context of their experience, so that everyone would be encouraged to talk. And then under creative thinking, the teacher generates creative ideas from learners by providing a big picture of what they are learning for them to have something to think flexibly about. And under the other higher order thinking, the teacher uses cooperative group work where learners are tasked to discuss, understanding, evaluate their own work and others' work, and reflect on learning. So those are the different illustration of practice, different strategies that we can make use so that we would be able to achieve this objective during our classroom. To make sure na makikita ni observer itong different strategies na to, that we make use of them during our classroom observation, would give us a better chance of getting the highest possible score for this indicator. So with that, this is our example rating sheet again, because we would always aim for the highest possible score. So we should always get the level 7. And also for objective 3, for the third and fourth quarter, we get level 7 again, because that is our main goal. And then we have to make sure again that our observer would comment that whether or not we meet the objective within the allotted time, because that will be our basis for our efficiency. With this rating, we will be able to compute again our IPCRF rating. So we again, means of verification, we again provide the COT rating sheet 1 and 2, wherein we should be getting COT rating 7, 7 ang target lagi natin, which is equivalent to the RPMS 5-point scale rating of 5. And then we get the average of the 2 rating sheet. and that is 5.00, which is equivalent to RPMS rating for quality 5, which is outstanding. Para sa efficiency naman, we still include rating sheet 1 and 2, tapos yung RPMS 5-point scale rating nila, and then we get the average of these two rating sheet to get RPMS rating for efficiency score of 5, which is equivalent to outstanding. So pag meron na tayo nito, we are now ready to transfer it to our RPMS portfolio. So ito na yung RPMS portfolio natin, kung saan we were able to add the Objective 1, tapos na natin Objective 1, ayan na, may attachment na tayo. We also finish Objective 2, and then we'll proceed to Objective 3, ayan, i-attach ko ng ating MOVs for COT1 from the 3rd quarter and 4th quarter, kung saan nakakuha tayo ng level 7. So for annotation, for Objective 3, which is a classroom observable indicator, I got a rating of 7 for both 3rd and 4th quarter classroom observation, which is equivalent to 5 points in the IPCRF rating under quality. Having a note from my observer that I have met the objective within the allotted time gives me a score of 5 points under the efficiency. So, okay na. Meron na tayong RPMS portfolio. Punta na tayo sa ating IPCRF rating sheet. So, for this one, under the COT1, 3rd quarter classroom observation, lalagay natin yung score na 7. Tapos, yung COT2 for the 4th quarter, 7. And that gives us RPMS 5-point scale, which is equivalent to 5 points under quality. And then, we type the 5 points for efficiency, and that will give us average of 5 and a score of 0.350. Kung saan, makikita natin yan, mag-update yan automatic dito sa ating part 1 ng ating IPCRF, and that would also reflect on the summary sheet. Ayan, meron na tayo ditong Objective 3 na score. Okay? So, yan na po ang kabuuan ng ating video for objective number 3. Sana po ay may naintindihan kayo at nadagdagan ng inyong kaalaman kung paano gagamit ng iba't ibang strategies para ma-develop ang critical, creative, as well as higher order taking skills ng ating mga mag-aaral na maipapakita natin during our classroom observation. Hindi lang during our classroom observation, sana every day during our classes na ipapakita at naisasagawa natin to para sa ating mga learners. With that, may I remind again, ang pag-avail po ng ating mga free template is until March 24 only, okay? So, mag-avail na po kayo. And, please like this video kung nagustuhan niyo po itong video na to. Hit that like button naman po para ma-encourage naman si Teacher Racky to create more videos. And then, please subscribe to my channel kung hindi pa kayo nakasubscribe, and hit that notification bell to bell all po para lahat ng post ni Teacher Racky ma-update kayo agad-agad at hindi kayo mahuhuli. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat, and I will see you again on our next video for objective number 4. And God bless you always, and always keep safe. Bye-bye!